right, welcome to the latest iteration of The Count, also known as the St. Francis University Geiger counter payload for our near space ballooning project. Just a quick walk around the outside here before we get in. So this conforms to our newest payload management system, meaning how this payload attaches to the other boxes on the string. Starts off with this quick link here. That's what connects to the next payload up. It attaches to this figure 8 on a byte, just a loop here. Goes down to the payload. This washer is what kind of holds payload in place. There's a mirroring system on the bottom end. There's a knot, top and bottom, that fix the plastic washers. Washers just distribute the load against the box. And then there's a little loop here where a quick link from the next payload down connects. That's all there is to the outside, at least in terms of connections. The box is made from that folded foam board technique I mentioned before. All of the corners are reinforced with tape. This is the hinge side. It should have run on it, especially given the age of the box, but or rather given the condition of the box. This has only been flown once. It was brand new. There is some gaps here. I just cut it so it'd be easier to pop it the rest of the way. We started making these boxes such that you could have them open while on the flight line. You'll note that I'm not had to take it off of this. That's such that we can have them open to do last minute checks, make sure that payloads are turned on, and also that without having to do major reconstruction of the boxes while we're actively sitting on the launch pad. So the first step, we have a whole bunch of cubed foam here. We found this on McMaster.com or McMaster.com. This kind of cushions the payload because this is probably our most sensitive one. So this is a Masher Instruments PRM 7000 Geiger counter. It's sensitive to the energy levels found in cosmic radiation. If I take this first layer of foam out, you'll see that there's two things. There's a lot of wires going on here. None of them are power. This is entirely a self-contained unit. What this guy does, so if I hold this down, so there we go. This is this is now on. Every time you hear a beep or see that red light flash, it's saying that it's counting incident radiation. This thing does have some capability to data log, but it's not in a very convenient method. It's not in a very convenient fashion, nor would it necessarily be easy to conjoin with other measurements like location, altitude, all that sort of thing. So whenever you hear a beep from this, whenever you ever hear a click, when it's counting a thing of what's called a pulse of the radiation, it emits that via this, which is called audio jack, which goes to our data collection board. So we don't use this to data log, we just use it to sense, and then it sends a signal back to our data collection board. We also have a couple of these 1 watt heaters on the back. They're pretty low power. For reference, that plus sign is roughly where the Geiger-Mueller tube is in here, so we're not covering that up. But we have these little foil heaters here to make sure that this instrument stays warm while up at altitude. Actually ends up with the amount of foam that we have in here. That's not a problem at all. I don't think we even flew with these on. We thought we would need them, did some ground testing, figure out that we didn't. We just kind of left them there because they were a pain in the butt to take off. Okay, so set that aside here. Take off the next layer of foam. All right, now we get to the heart of this thing. So, okay, so wires from the Geiger counter. So we have these guys, which go back up to the which go back up to the heaters. Those get down to a plug on the board. That plug is controlled by a MOSFET here, so I can turn the heaters on or off depending on if I need if I need them. This guy, it holds an 18650 lithium battery. That's what powers this whole thing. So what this plug is here. Just pull that out for a second. You'll see there's another heater sitting underneath of that. Again, past experience had taught us to incorporate 1 watt heaters in a lot of places in our design. Just end up not having to use them. This board here is kind of the heart and soul of the whole operation, though. You'll see that the Geiger counter, this is just a regular old aux cable, comes in here. This is a TRS audio jack right in the corner. So that's where it's called the audio signal from the Geiger counter comes in. Remember, every time you get a click on the Geiger counter, you get a signal there. That is read by, if I use my knife to point, it'll probably help. That is read by this guy, which is an Datalogging Feather M0. Essentially, it's a fancy version of Arduino. It happens to come with a built-in SD card reader, so we can have an SD card sitting in there where all of our data gets logged to. Makes it really convenient for retrieving information. Costs about $20 a pop, so works out pretty well for us. Not the most capable one in the world, but it does what we need. The rest of these ports, so that white dude there, the small 2-pin plug, that's your battery port. We have actually two ports for plugging in heaters. There's a thermistor sitting right there. That little black bead is a temperature sensor that we've come up with a calibration curve for. So this board can sense the internal temperature of the box and use that to turn the heaters on and off as necessary. You'll note that the students didn't really finish with this one. There's supposed to be an LED here and here. They're just more of the status lights as well as a switch here. They're called we're getting in a little bit behind trying to get some of the other systems on this board working. And those weren't truly necessary, so we left them off. This, as said, is a MOSFET. It's essentially an electronic switch that turns our heaters on and off. It's a high current switch, pretty much. That is actuated by the Feather M0. That's where all of our code sits. This over here is a GPS that gives us altitude and location. That gets logged to the Feather M0 about once per second. It gives us a position reference when we look at the Geiger counter data. So we have internal temperature, altitude, latitude, longitude, and Geiger counts. So that's pretty much it. You can see how the flight line runs through the box via a channel there. So that's our gig. This did have a case. It's not here right now, just because it needed some work. There was a 3D printed case that was made for this, just to keep it off of the foam during flight. You don't want it to rub in case you accumulate some static electricity that could fry the board. So this does have a case. Normally it's just not pictured here. So what you all would probably be doing if you wanted to solder all this together. There's another heater there. This one's a little bit janky. There was an error when we got the circuit board made, so we had to route around it a bit. That has since been fixed. But you see how this is soldered together. You have parts on top. They're all through-hole parts, so they all go through the board. You solder them to pads on the bottom. You can see In the upper left-hand corner, the unsoldered pads there. Just poke a wire through, solder, and solder to the pad, and then cut off the excess wire. That's pretty much all there is to it. Everything sets up on soldered headers, so it's a pretty straightforward operation to solder one of these guys. You just have to get the parts. That's something that we'd probably be able to help you with. All right, so you do this. It'd be nice to have a box for that, just a small 3D printed thing or something of that sort. Even foam board would work. 3D print just thinner. Could get packaged a little bit easier, but you could absolutely build a foam board case for this. Just something so that it doesn't rub on the foam and accidentally get fried by static electricity. We have a bunch of 18650 batteries you can use to power the assembly, nominally 3.7 to 4.2 volts out in terms of their output. So more than enough to power everything here. Almost everything here runs on 3.3 volts. So so this is a perfect battery for it. And I think of any other notes. In terms of design, for the box and layout of components, you're just trying to plan for where everything's going to sit, how the rope's going to run through it, how you're going to cushion it, especially a Geiger counter payload, just because you do have a sensing element in there. The PRM 7000 has a metal Geiger tube in it. We had flown one with a mica sensor window in the past, and that did not end well. It was just too fragile. So if you see kind of the different layers of padding, the cutouts, and all that sort of thing, that's what would go into creating this box so that you get a nice cushioned, full box that doesn't have things jiggling around in it. You can close up, be able to open the lid on the flight line and get to everything that you need to inside without having to disconnect all of this. I think that's all the big points. Of course, we have all the stuff to connect to the flight line and make sure the box is secured. This is just regular 550 cord, parachute cord, quarter inch or so in diameter. I think that's all the pertinent details. Outside, what you do with that is pretty much up to you. We do need to stick a quote harmless payload sticker onto the back. Make sure that if someone finds it, hopefully they call us before they try to trash it. But the rest of the outside is up to you. Have fun, be creative. All right, that's all I got. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.